Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida for today's SpaceX CRS-6 Post-Launch News Conference, which is always a pleasure to have a post-launch news conference. After a spectacular liftoff today of the Falcon 9 rocket, we are pleased today to be joined by Dan Hartman. Dan is the Deputy International Space Station Program Manager from NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, and by Hans Königsmann, Vice President of Mission Assurance for SpaceX and the Chief Engineer for SpaceX on this launch. And we'll start off with opening comments and be happy to take questions. Dan?
All right, thank you, Mike, and good afternoon, everybody. First of all, congratulations to our SpaceX team. From Hawthorne to McGregor to the folks here at the Cape, they did just a tremendous job getting the vehicle prepared after the weather delay yesterday. As mentioned, it was just a spectacular launch, and everything looks to be on track. For now, with the launch today, a grapple and eventual berth to our Node 2 on the International Space Station on Friday morning at 6 a.m. Houston time. So we're looking forward to that. The crew's completely trained, ready to go. Systems on board the ISS are ready to receive the Dragon. And then once we berth, we'll take another day for hatch opening, and then we will get on with our research program. There's over 40 experiments on this mission directly related to the one-year studies that we've been conducting. And so the teams are ready to go. Our payload folks in Huntsville, Alabama have done a great job in getting prepared for this. Our principal investigators for all these experiments are ready to go. And so we look forward to the delivery on Friday morning. And with that, I'll turn it over to Hans and give you a status of Falcon and Dragon performance.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks, Dan. So I'm super happy. It was a good launch, and I would like to thank a couple folks. The ground team did awesome over the last 24 hours and over the entire integration time. Launch control team was great. The whole vehicle responsible engineer team that works those launches just performed flawless and awesome. The entire countdown was very quiet. There was basically nothing to work on. It was automated completely, and very little chatter on the nets, and everything was just rolling down. And special thanks to the weather guy today. I'm after yesterday and this pretty dramatic 3 minutes before liftoff hold. It was a lot better today. And okay, Falcon 9 did great. From what I can tell, just looking at the console, shutdown velocities were right on the money. Orbit, I presume, is right on the money. If the velocity is right, then typically the orbit is right too. One thing that was different or new this time was the camera from the second stage stayed on Dragon, so you could see the solar array, the covers go away, and then you could see the solar arrays unfold. And that is oh yeah, there it is actually. Yeah. That is such a phenomenal picture. And and in the past we turned the vehicle away just before that. So this time we fixed that and have really good pictures of the solar array and Dragon deploying the solar arrays. From what I hear, Dragon is in perfect shape. Going towards the station, the orbit race burns coming up. Basically, the GNC door openings coming up shortly. So from what I heard on the way up here, everything is just working fine, and nothing of concern. Yeah, I can. I think I can talk about the secondary objectives briefly. Totally not important after the primary objective, which is to provide food and cargo and science to the ISS, which is the big thing. The landing on the drone ship, we seem to have landed a little bit too hard. There's the vehicle coming in, so I'm always amazed by that, because on one side we see it going off here, and then we see it, 200 miles further somewhere else on a drone ship that sits in the middle of the ocean. We see it coming down. So it came down and it landed apparently a little bit too hard. I saw 2 frames basically, and then that was the end of it. So we're still looking at data. We need to analyze what happened. Looking at the data itself quickly, I heard that everything seemed to be fine, so it's not quite clear what happened, but it's certainly needs more work in the next couple of missions. Which, by the way, the next attempt would be then on CRS-7. Other than that, that was pretty much all I had.
All right, thank you, Hans. We'll be happy to take questions now. Please wait for the microphone, state your name and affiliation, and to whom you're addressing the question. And we'll begin with Marcia Dunn.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press, regarding the secondary mission. Do you think you'll be able to recover any of the booster? Have you heard whether there is anything left to be gotten?
There's a crew boat, but it's standing away from the drone ship for safety. And what I heard is they're on the way. It might take a while, maybe 2.5 hours to get there, I'm guessing a little bit. And then they can see what happened. By the time I left, we didn't have data, so I couldn't see what's on the drone ship itself. But I'm pretty sure there will be something to recover. Yeah.
Ken?
Hi, Ken Kramer for America Space and Universe today. For Dan, talk a little bit first about what a relief it is that this is successful. You have a single string only to orbit, so that's got to be a great relief. Talk about that. And the second thing is, you talked a little bit about, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the future missions. You already talked about the docking adapters on SpaceX 7. Tell us a little bit else what's going on SpaceX 7. As well as, I think the beam is going up on the SpaceX 8. Talk about what's coming up the rest of the year on these SpaceX flights. Thank you.
Sure. Let's see, the first part of the question, single string. You know, we are single string until we get our orbital team back and flying in the November time period. You know, we do have the HTV vehicle. We just did have an ATV vehicle come and go. And so, you know, single string in the commercial side, yes, but we do have other ways to get cargo to orbit. We do at times share and get some cargo up on Progress vehicles. And so there's multiple ways to get cargo up, but it is certainly nice to get these behind us with 2,000 kilograms of cargo going up. As far as future missions, SpaceX 7 does have the IDA. SpaceX 8 is when we do plan to fly the beam. That is, I want to say, in the September time period. We are working with the Bigelow folks now on how we're going to deploy the module on Node 3 aft when it gets there. We'll inflate it. We'll do some crew-tended work inside of it, but they have a lot of instrumentation that they're trying to determine how this inflation rate is going to happen, and it'll be a tremendous learning experience for them. The payload that we had on this mission was called CREAM, which is a cosmic ray exploration. That will be get back into the fold to go fly. There's some, I want to say, stratospheric gaseous experiment called the SAGE. I'm trying to remember what the acronym stands for. That will go up here in the next few missions as well. We have a MUSES payload that's a commercial endeavor. That'll go on the outside on an ELC, and it'll accommodate numerous external payloads as well. So our cargo, the trunk will be full as far as we envision, but that gives you a feeling for some of the science we'll be flying on those missions.
If I could ask Hans, are there any, with the beam in the trunk, are there any particular actions, special actions you have to take, or is that pretty straightforward?
I think it is straightforward. Yeah, I don't know what.
So it's basically a 3-latch system. The beam sits in the trunk. SpaceX will uncommand the latches. The arm will grab it, pull it out, and then we move it right over to Node 3 aft for the deployment.
Jason.
Jason Wright from SpaceflightInsider.com. I got a couple from Hans. Hans, the first one is, compared to the last landing attempt, we know that you guys are going to try to walk it in and gain more data with each flight. Did we see a step forward in terms of landing with this one? And I have one other question.
Absolutely. The Well, the last landing, which one do you call? The second landing we can't really compare because there was no barge there, and you just have the data, and on the data it looked great. But targeting the barge is more challenging, of course. And then on the first one, we had the fin issue, so we fixed that and targeted the barge more accurately this time, from what I can tell. But again, I need to look at data. We need to work this out and figure out how much better we did.
Second question. Now, you said that everything was right on the money and the numbers were right aligned to what you expected. Now, for a lot of us who've been following Falcon 9 flights, it's almost seemed like the Falcon took a little longer to get off the pad and into the sky this time around. Is that just a fault of our perception, or was it a little slower going uphill?
I don't think so. I don't think it was heavier than normal. I actually don't see it. So you see more than I do. I look at screens and data, and from that it looked perfectly nominal. I mean, yeah.
James in Florida today. Hans, could you just recap some of the basic numbers of the booster flyback? How high did it come down from? How about what was its peak, velocity that it decelerated from, and approximately how far downrange would you say it was, or off the coast?
So it was about 200 miles out there, and the boost back burn brings the apogee down to 125 kilometers. So it's actually not very well. It is pretty high, but if you would let it go, it would go higher, basically. Huh? So it reduces that. The entry velocity is, I think, in Q alpha, in dynamic pressure, not in velocity. So it's a medium Mach number, 3-4, if I recall this correctly. So from what I can tell, the burns were all right on time, which tells me that the mission moves on nominally, because the vehicle decides on its own when it burns. It has certain criteria that it needs to comply with, height and velocity. And when I see the burn going right on the money with the time, basically the timeline, then I know that the mission is progressing very accurately. From what I could tell during the mission, it looked like right on the money from that perspective. But a lot of that is need to go back and look at data. I basically saw what happened, and then I ran out and jumped in the car and drove over here. So sorry.
So SpaceX 7 is the next attempt.
Yep.
I wondered if you could just run through your manifest between now and then. You were, I think, targeting 24th for the next.
The tallest mission
COMSAT.
is on the April 24.
Is that still, even despite your just 1 day slip here or scrub?
Yeah, that
it's
should still be fine.
Okay. And what comes after that?
And after that comes CRS-7. Actually, paired aborts, if you count that too. But for Falcon 9, the CRS-7 is the next one then.
Gotcha.
And the numbers are now flipped around. The next one is Falcon 9 17, and then CRS-7 is
June
Falcon 9 20.
Yeah.
Because Falcon 9 19 goes from Vandenberg.
Okay, in the back?
Hi, John Klein with NASA Social. My question's also for Hans. I'm fascinated by the secondary objective. As you have more experiences where the landing of that booster isn't quite right, are you less optimistic about the total number of recoveries you'll have when the system is working at its best capacity, or will you be?
I'm pretty sure we figure this out and make it work on the barge, and it's just a matter of finding the right parameters, finding the right method to do this. I don't think there's something fundamental. And at the end of the day, you want to land on land anyway. So this is, I want to say, it makes it a little bit easier to test.
Hi, Tatsuo Nakajima from Japanese newspaper, the Yomiuri. A question for Hans. Can I have a very basic number of first stage of Falcon 9, tall and diameter and weight when it's landing?
Diameter is 12 feet, and the weight is about around 60 to 70,000 pounds. The whole thing is 180 feet. I think it's 130, 140 feet.